Retrades are the bane of M&A deals. A retrade is the practice of a buyer lowering the purchase price of a company or changing the terms of the deal after initially agreeing to a letter of intent, or LOI, to a higher purchase price or different terms. Even when everything seems to be going well during the M&A process, you can get blindsided by a buyer who wants to retrade the deal. When it happens, a retrade usually occurs during due diligence when the buyer's team digs into the seller's data, such as the financial, legal, operational, and strategic records, to verify that the buyer is acquiring what they expect. If the buyer's team identifies something that they feel puts them at risk or doesn't match what the seller initially presented or thought they understood, they may request a retrade. But sometimes, a retrade could be based on something other than actual risks or legitimate concerns.
Here are 6 things you can do to protect yourself from a retrade. 1. Be prepared. You must thoroughly prepare for the scrutiny of your records during due diligence. Make sure your accounting records are correct and in order, that your forecasts follow generally accepted accounting principles, and that you understand your churn, that is, your customer attrition rate. Know what the buyer will examine in due diligence. Understand their checklist. 2. Be proactive. In general, anything uncovered in due diligence that doesn't meet what the buyer expects can be fuel for a retrade. Uncovering issues before the buyer does and addressing them as early as possible is always a good idea. Common snags leading to a retrade include quality of earnings, failure to achieve forecasted revenue, unexpected legal or tax issues, and hidden expenses. So, take the initiative and do your own due diligence before the buyer does. 3. Be transparent. If you can't resolve these issues beforehand, ensure prospective buyers are aware of them before the LOI. Being upfront about negative items is better than having the buyer uncover them during due diligence. 4. Avoid habitual retraders. Although most buyers are honest in their dealings with sellers and want to live by the agreements they've signed, some have a reputation for doing retrades. They aim to gain exclusivity through an LOI and then retrade. Other buyers enter the M&A process to gain intelligence about the seller, but they never intend to complete the deal. An experienced advisor can help you avoid these buyers based on their reputation for retrades. 5. Keep other prospective buyers engaged. Even after you sign an LOI giving a buyer a period of exclusivity in an M&A deal, it's a good idea to let other bidders, especially those expressing strong interest, know that you may re-engage with them if the deal falls through. If the buyer demands a retrade that you do not accept, you can terminate the deal before it closes and pursue a deal with one of the other bidders. That leverage can temper the buyer's desire to retrade. 6. Limit retrades through the LOI. Another way to limit the possibility of a retrade is via stipulation in the LOI. For instance, negotiate a provision that penalizes the buyer if they retrade based on unfounded or minor claims. That penalty might be a loss of exclusivity. In addition, it's important to limit the period of exclusivity. So, what do you do when a buyer wants to retrade the deal? You have several options. You can accept a retrade if it does not impact the deal too seriously. For instance, even though the retrade lowers the purchase price, the transaction value is above your acceptable threshold. You can negotiate the retrade. Sometimes the buyer's reasons for a retrade are clearly reasonable. Legitimate concerns should be negotiated to find a solution acceptable to both parties. The reality is that most buyers do not want to risk losing the deal once they've invested substantial time, effort, and money. So they are typically amenable to negotiation. You can terminate the LOI. If the reasons for the retrade are unreasonable, or if negotiation fails to come to an acceptable solution, you can terminate the deal. Walking away from a deal is a difficult decision for a seller, but there are times when it is better to kill a deal than accept a retrade that can cost you millions of dollars, or one that saddles you with onerous terms. Having a trusted advisor like Corum is essential in helping you thoroughly prepare for an M&A transaction. A competent, experienced advisor can also be an effective intermediary between you and the buyer when issues arise, helping alleviate buyer concerns and possible retrade of your deal.